Are we are recording, so we are good to go. We'll get started on Facebook, and Jake will let me know when we're live. And I like his case better than mine. All right, we're good to go. Hey, everybody, welcome to the UGASports Live podcast on here at Champions on Baxter Street. My name is Rodney Bullsey. I'm currently being joined by Jake Roos. He's going to slide in here behind my big fat bottom. Cameraman extraordinaire, recruiting Roderick Jones, interviewer guy, still wet from Saturday.
Oh, I'm still wringing it out, man.
Still dripping. And, of course, more importantly, we're joined by Coach Jim Donnan, former head coach of the University of Georgia Bulldogs, Hall of Famer, fried catfish eater extraordinaire on the end there.
Wheeling, dealing, son of a gun.
Like I said, we're live at Champions on Baxter Street. If you get a chance, you want to swing by here, especially if you want to catch a game. It's a great place to watch it, and they're fantastic for their tailgate stuff. A big shout-out to our friends at Europe High, Athens Ford, Aaron Overhead Doors, and Academia Brewing Company. Of course, if you're watching it live on YouTube, subscribe to our page, and if you're watching it on 365 Game Day, hit them up for your Georgia gear. Hi, guys.
Share it, too.
Yeah, share it. Yeah, we never tell people to do that. You need to share this. So it would be a great help to us if you would. Coach, I want to jump right into, before we get to the questions, and, if you have your questions, stick them in the comments. We'll get to them. We have some on the message board that we'll get to. We'll share the stream over there. Coach, just give me your overall thoughts for the people who did not get to see the watch-along party that you and I did with Dane Young. You had comments throughout the game, but for the people who didn't get to see that, who were sitting in the rain, give me your thoughts on this 21-0 victory over Kentucky that a lot of people are pretty unhappy about.
Yeah, I'm just going to give you a little Joe Paterno to start in. I don't know. I don't know. What do we have to do? No, seriously. The thing I'd like for everybody to do today, if you can, just go out in the backyard and cut your sprinkler on or cut your hose on and just get a really wet place back there and then try to slip and stand up. And then take a ball, any kind of ball, and just dip it in water and try to hold it and see if you can throw and catch it. And that's what we were dealing with Saturday. I mean, and you add the wind and the cold, and you had the fact that we lost the week before with 4 turnovers, giving the game away to a team that we should beat. So we called the game based on poor field position, based on the whole first half, not having much success when we did try to throw the ball, and realized that, to win the game, we had to play it like we were even teams and play field position game and count on a couple breaks. And we got them, and we got the win. So I'm very happy that we were able to do that, 21-0 against a team that had Florida 20-7 going into the last quarter, when they played at Kentucky. So you can be disappointed in the results as far as going up and down the field and all that. But I will say this. Do you know what San Francisco 49ers, you know what their record is? How many games they've lost this year?
0, right?
They haven't lost a game. They didn't score a touchdown Sunday against the worst team in the NFL. Maybe Miami Dolphins is worse than the Redskins, but they didn't score a touchdown.
They played Atlanta?
Oh.
No, they didn't score a touchdown against the Redskins in the same kind of conditions. It's just a difficult situation, and you can say what you want to about Florida and South Carolina moved the ball on each other, but that was about 8 hours earlier and a lot less didn't have the accumulation on the field that we had. So you can make all this kind of comparison. But to me, the one thing I want to do, and if you want to fire me because it's not worth it to me.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But I'm marking this down. Hang on.
People that would boo the University of Georgia have no idea what can happen with recruits in the stands. I'm just going to tell you this. It's okay to boo if you want to, but look at it. Don't be booing if we lose a couple players because their parents heard you being negative about the University of Georgia or saying that. We lost Tyson Campbell. One of the worst games I ever coached or was involved with, we played Auburn, and they scored like 30 points in the first half. We tried to play man coverage. Well, Tyson Campbell's dad was in the stands with his son, and some of the vitriol and things that were being said were just unmerciful. And he told me about it the next day, and he said, Coach, I'm just going to have a hard time sending my son to a place where they feel like this about the program. And, obviously you could hear that anywhere at any time. But just be careful about that. That's all I say. If you really feel that badly about the team and are disappointed in winning like we're winning, then, hey, that's the way it is. I mean, but the conditions Saturday were overwhelmingly bad, and you add to the fact that we had lost the week before with turnovers, and we didn't think the other team could score. So I'm all for that win. I guarantee you we're going to be okay against Florida. We've got the playmakers. We got the skill people. Things will be okay. And, I'm telling you right now, I feel good about the Florida game. I watched their tape against LSU. I see their defense. I like our matchups. I feel good about it.
You were there. Okay, so you
was.
were out on the field. And, I apologize to people that follow me on Twitter. I'm usually on Twitter out there as a carnival barker trying to get people to come in behind the paywall, see what we have at UGASports.com, because I believe in what we do. I believe in we got 10 guys over there who are great contributors. We've got stuff from Dane Young. We got stuff from you. We got stuff from Trent. Got stuff from Paul Meharry. We got Patrick Garvin, who's written tons of books about UGA. We got the best beat writer in the entire beat. The guy puts out more information than anybody. I believe in what we do, but if you follow me on Twitter, you see me arguing with people. I don't have – if Georgia loses, we make the same amount of money as Georgia wins. Because people come to our board and complain about it.
Yeah.
If they win, they get excited.
We get more people who come and complain.
Yeah, well, it's true. But the point being, I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. I'm just trying to tell you – I've been doing it for 26 years down on the field. Now, that's a drop in the bucket compared to the coach on the sideline, but I've been down on the field, and I've been in nasty situations. I understand how weather can impact a game. I don't care that it was raining, 4 hours away half as much. But when you get out there and it's windy and it's cold and it's rainy and cold, then it gets windy. And this is what I want to ask you about. Coach, you're a quarterback. You've been a coach. You can attest to this. Rain is bad. Wind is worse. How was the wind down there?
And the cold, too.
Yeah, your hands are cold.
Let me just ask you this. If he would tell you that his computer's working slow, you would think that he's telling you the truth, right?
Yeah.
We're just not getting a good good hookup here.
We've had that problem.
Yeah. But if your quarterback tells you he can't handle the ball, that's pretty good. He said, I'm having a hard time gripping the ball. Hey, that's pretty salient answer, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's the kind of dialogue you want to have. Like, hey, what can you run on him? What can you do? Coach, I'm having a hard time holding on to the ball. So you want us to go on and throw the ball even though the quarterback's telling you that?
I'm not going to rat him out, but I've been walking behind the sideline, walking behind the team benches, and I've heard a Georgia offensive lineman in years past say, Coach, I'm whipping his blank, come my way. And sure enough, there's like 3 calls around that end, and sure, this guy was just – and this was a –
Or you hear him saying like Booger McFarland, I can't block him.
Yeah, we've seen that as well, but I saw I don't want to put the defensive end on blast because I actually know the guy. But this Georgia offensive tackle is catching Scott and just shutting him down. And they ran No-Shaw Moreno behind him 3 times, and No-Shaw picked up like 13, 30, and then like 9 yards back to back to back. It was just bang, bang, bang. And they just killed him. And then all of a sudden, there's outside linebackers, safeties, trainers, cheerleaders on that side trying to help that kid out. Because you tell your coach what's going on, and if your quarterback goes to your offense coordinator and says, hey, guess what? I'm having a hard time gripping the ball. Maybe you run it a little bit more. But was it windy? Was it nasty? Tell me.
Yeah, it was the wind was completely variable throughout the day. It was all over the place. Before the game, it was you could see the flags flying all different directions. The gusts were picking up. I was trying to think what I would compare it to weather-wise. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of it was easily the nastiest game I've been to since 2015 against Alabama. And this was probably worse because of the temperature. At least during that Alabama game,
well,
it was a little bit warm.
Game too.
It was, yeah, it was a little bit, and it was a little bit warm that day, and
right.
it was still a monsoon. But I really don't think TV did a great job and this is no fault of them, but of communicating how hard it was raining. It was raining.
They're too busy complaining about these players are predictable.
It was raining like hell out there, man. I mean, it was. I stood out there for 2 hours before the game to get the recruits that were coming in, and I was absolutely soaked to the bone. I mean, it was not a situation where this was a light drizzle. It was impactful rain throughout the game. So the playing surface, they were trying to get things under control. I mean, even before the game, over on the sidelines, there were big mud puddles. They were trying to come over, put the turf, put the turf solidifier over there on that. I think that people just don't. If you weren't there on Saturday, it's really hard to.
Well, let me ask you this question here: of all the people you've ever seen that has a base, wouldn't you say that Trey Hill's base is probably as good as any as far as thickness?
Oh, no question.
And when he fires out and both his feet come out from under him, like it happened on that quarterback sneak, you know the turf is not great, right?
Yeah.
And that's pretty – I mean, we had a good formation there. We're going to push off. But when your center's feet come right out from under him after he snaps the ball, that's pretty vivid to me.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
And a big shout out to the Georgia field crew. I mean, I remember when they put in that turf and they put in that huge drainage system, they dug that thing down deep. And that field drains better than just about any field in America. I'm not saying just in the SEC. It's a fantastic field. But you still had guys slip, still had wet conditions. And I thought that Brent Rollins at Pro Football Focus pointed out something really well. Second half, Georgia went to a lot of outside zone. That started working. He pointed out a bunch of different formations. Coach, on the show, you pointed out Georgia running counters, which we hadn't seen before. You talked about that 4th and 1. It was 2 big offensive linemen lined up like dual fullbacks. And,
right.
You know, you hand it to Fromm, and then all of a sudden they just push everybody forward. But, of course, 3 guys slipped and are on the ground. That's a new formation we haven't seen. We saw the 2 running backs on either side of Jake Fromm and, running a different formation.
Yeah, we did some things, but I mean,
But we saw some execution issues. We saw a great pull. Charlie Warner goes across. So does Ben Cleveland. Both miss their guys. Cade Mays gets tripped up. It's a tackle at the line of scrimmage. If those guys hit and go, that's going to be quite an interesting play. I'm curious to see what would happen in dry conditions. Against Florida.
You just got to take into account though that how hard it is for one person to stand up and do, but we got to count on everybody doing it, and it happened to them, But I think we're just beating a dead horse here. I'm sure we got some questions about it, but I was happy.
I asked for your overall
I was
opinion.
with you at 12. At halftime I was disappointed because, you want to get that taste out of your mouth from the week before, and I think the carryover of losing the week before in the game we should have won, and then the inability to really look good in the first half was just a culmination of everybody's being, kind of chapped. But
I got a question along those lines. We got it from a UGA alum 95. It says, I watched the Patriots last night using Ben Watson as a fullback H-back blocking for Sony, and Dallas used a fullback Sunday with success. Any chance UGA can learn from this and convert somebody to fullback?
we use a
I'm about to say
fullback.
we have a fullback, don't we?
We use Werner. We use these guys. We don't use them exactly like the Patriots do. Let me tell you something. You know what Tom Brady does? On Monday of every week, he goes to Foxborough to the bus station and asks a guy down there that looks athletic, would you want to come and catch some passes this week?
They got.
I mean, it's unreal. Oh, they got him too, but I mean, they got him today. But seriously, that execution that they have is just incredible. But I think, to me, we got a bye week. We're going to wait. Everybody's going to go down to Florida. I predict that we'll go down there. You know, we only threw, like when we beat them 42-7, we threw less passes than we threw Saturday night, didn't we?
I believe that is
Yeah,
true. I'll have to go check
How many
that.
passes did he throw when we beat them? Were people mad about that 42-7 win? That's the first time we beat?
Probably.
But you know, hey, that's part of being on the deal. And
apologize,
we're not an overwhelming offensive team at this point. But
7. He threw seven passes.
We threw
in that
7
game.
and we won 42-7. Now, hey, if we throw 7 and win Saturday next week, everybody will know what's going on.
Well, no, you threw it 51 times and lost.
Right. But we did lose. So, I mean, I got to take up for the board. Hey, we shouldn't have lost that game.
I agree with you 100%.
But I just don't want to see the booing. I really don't.
No, that's a good point. And that was my overall thing. And we'll get to let's hit up some questions here real quick. But first, I want to let everybody know, do us a favor if you like listening to the podcast and you take anything away from it. I thought Coach had a great point that he ended the show with last week, talking about your 4 wide receivers that you would be your ex wide receiver this year. 2 of them left early for the NFL, 1 graduated, and 1 was kicked off the team. If you had Jeremiah Holloman at that X and Cager, at the Z or something like that, it was a different look. If Mecole Hardman's still there.
We missed Cager Saturday, too.
Miss Cager. You're missing Mecole Hardman. You're missing Jeremiah Holloman. You're missing Ridley. Missing Terry Godwin. Terry Godwin has saved your butt numerous times. And that's not to downplay the other guys, but when you start thinking about stuff like that, it kind of helps you get an idea of what your offense has changed. And if you like insight like that, like Coach gave at the end of last week's show, do us a favor and hit up our sponsors. Swing by Athens Ford. Our first sponsor for the show besides Champions. These guys came in. They sponsor our website as well. They're huge Georgia fans, and they take care of their customers. Everybody that goes there goes again. It's not one of those situations where you have a one-time deal where it's like, hey, I bought a car from them, I'm never going back. They don't want to sell you one car. They want to sell you all your cars, and then your kids and your grandkids and your friends. They're going to take such good care of you. You're not going to want to go anywhere else. And they don't have just Fords. They have a lot of pre-owned vehicles, and all the vehicles they have, up to 80,000 miles on a pre-owned, have a lifetime powertrain warranty. So go by our friends at Athens Ford and hit them up. All right, let's jump into the questions. Let me turn you on there, Coach.
Yeah, I want to hear one thing here about people say, well, hell, everybody has graduation and everybody does. That's one thing. But that's what everybody's going to have to start recognizing. The guys that leave early, you got to have a plan in place, which hadn't happened to us. But we lost 3 guys there in the middle of December, and you got to be ready to have people ready to go. Hopefully, some of these guys are going to step up now.
Well, you did till one got kicked off.
One of them we're counting on. Karis Jackson got hurt, hadn't played since Vanderbilt. Another one, Cager, got hurt and played hurt with his shoulder. So, the realism is you got to plug people in and still be effective. But, we're in the top 10 in the country. Should win the East. Let's see what happens, and let's get some questions. And don't be easy, but I'm not going to talk about the booing anymore.
All right. Well, we do have some tough questions. A lot of people have them, as you might imagine. Ellen Holland says, what's up with Jake, if anything? Is it mental, physical? And to play off of that question, I wanted to include this one from Hunting Dog, which I think is an interesting one. He says, Coach, it appeared to me that Jake Fromm was indecisive against Kentucky because he was afraid to make a mistake. He says, I'm not saying that is happening, but he says, if that is really what is happening, how hard is that for a quarterback to get over?
Well, I think he can get over if anybody did. I think in that game, though, with the wet ball, he was unsure, and he didn't that's why you probably you're looking for the easy throw. You don't want to try to throw it in the tight windows where a lot of things can happen. Your receiver can slip. You can underthrow the ball. So he would look a little indecisive, but I take that first half out of the mix. He didn't play well against he did some really good things against South Carolina, but he made some bad decisions too. So, but school's still out on the rest of the year. But I feel very confident about what he can do. He's 2-0 against Florida and played an unbelievable game against them last year, and hope he'll do the same this year.
Let me interject something real quick.
Yeah.
I want to hit another question. 90% of the rumors that you folks hear about Jake Fromm on a week-to-week basis are false. Let me rephrase that. 98% of the rumors you hear about Jake are false. The 2% are probably something that's he actually said. Go watch our videos. He will have addressed it. But there's a lot of I spent a lot of the last few days running down fake rumors that are untrue. So I'm not going to repeat them because that gives them life, but they're not true.
Well, and look, Jake Fromm is a celebrity on his own right. I mean, it's what's going to happen to a kid like that. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
That's just a public service announcement.
Sure.
Until you read it on the front page of UGASports.com, don't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, it's TMZ. I mean,
great way of putting it. Twitter, MZ. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to throw this one to Roddy here because I'm interested in your take on this. A lot of people mentioning the name Mike Bobo. A lot of people, as they're asking if there is going to be a change, could you see Mike Bobo coming back, assuming he's not at Colorado State?
First, Mike Bobo is a fantastic coach, fantastic offensive coordinator. Took a lot of crap at Georgia for scoring 44 points a game.
I wouldn't come back.
I'd be like, screw you people. But and Mike's a great Georgia guy, and I'm sure Kirby would love to have him. But Mike is a head coach. A lot of guys, when they get fired, step down and become an offensive coordinator somewhere, and they go back. But there are going to be schools that come after Mike Bobo if that happens and say, hey, we want you to be a head coach here. They've seen what he has the ability to do. He went into a rough situation at Colorado State.
Recruited great.
Yeah, he's one of the strongest recruiters in the nation. He's one of the great offensive minds in the nation. And just to assume that he's going to come back and take a demotion, he might coach at a smaller school. But I'm just saying, would he do it? Maybe, but Mike's going to have a lot of options if that were to happen. Mm-hmm. If he were to lose his job up there and it doesn't look good, there'll be other schools that want him. So
I can't see us making a move at offensive coordinator based on the first half of that game, based on 4 turnovers. I mean, give a guy.
I mean, even if Georgia were to go 9-3, I don't expect it to happen, but some situation like that, I don't know that Kirby's like, I kept James Coley here when he had a chance to go to Texas A&M. He was my guy in waiting. We had a disappointing year. I'm going to make a wholesale change, get rid of one of the strongest recruiters on my staff, replace him with another good recruiter. And, it's just – I don't see that happening. But, again, I don't know that he's available.
I don't see Kirby firing himself. You think Kirby's going to fire himself?
No.
Kirby runs the whole program. Everything goes through Kirby Smart.
There's a question in there about that. Get to that
and he tries to win the game, and the coaches do what he says. So get off these coaches. Get off Kirby. I mean, he's got a plan. That's the way he's going to do it.
Kirby's Pleats asks on the board, I'll throw this to both of you. He says, do you guys see any unhealthy stubbornness in Kirby in that regard?
Yes.
He's stubborn, but, he believes in what he believes, which I'm all for that.
It's been successful, though. I saw somebody – I wish somebody had pointed this – I can remember who said it. They said that maybe his early success convinced him that he's right. And I'm like –
probably.
Well, yeah.
Me too.
To be fair.
Well, everybody – here's the point. Well, I want to interrupt, and then you go back because I shouldn't interrupt. But everybody sees LSU doing these things this year, and they say, why can't we do it? LSU's made a move to go more to something that they believe in, but they need to with their defense.
Yeah.
They needed that kind of offense because their defense this year gave up 38 points to Vanderbilt. They'll give up 30 to Auburn probably. So they made that move. We're a big physical team, and we're not going to change overnight just because somebody else is doing it. You watch Alabama. You watch Alabama on Saturday night, or whenever they play against Arkansas. They're not going to throw the ball all over the field without Tua. They're going to run up. You're going to use that other guy. It's just apples and apples here. Our team is our team. We build around our defense, kicking game, and a good, strong running game. That's the way he believes it.
And to his credit, it wins ball games. You got 2 different philosophical approaches. Everyone that's banging on James Coley, remember, Kirby Smart is a guy who pays attention to everything that's said because he chastises us about stories we write. He's read every recruiting tidbit and nugget when he talks to these kids in the recruiting office. Guy leaves nothing to chance. We saw him checking the height of the grass.
Yeah.
Complaining, talking to his field guys about grass, stuff like that. There's nothing left to chance. And you think he just walks past that offensive meeting? His offensive coaches are in their meeting coming up with the game plan. He's like, that's all on you guys. I got nothing to do with it. Bull crap.
He meets with the offense every day. He meets with the defense every day. He meets with the kicking special teams every day.
James Coley's not calling anything that he doesn't want called.
Kirby's not wandering around Buttsmere whistling while everybody's just
no.
I'm on the whiteboard.
Again, I don't know James Coley. We don't hang out. I don't defend him. I wind up defending a lot of offensive coordinators because I'm a firm believer in the fact that you can call the right play, guys don't execute it, and the coordinator gets blamed for calling a bad play. And I don't think that's fair. And people that say, well, if you're blaming execution, then you're avoiding responsibility. You're blaming the players. The players are the ones that screwed it up. The play we saw with 2 guys pulling and 3 missed blocks on that, and your running back gets stopped out of line, that wasn't a bad play call. It was a great play call. 3 guys screwed up out of 11. So
yeah.
James Coley is not calling anything Kirby doesn't want him. If he calls a run up the middle and Kirby's against it, guess who's on the headset and say, don't run that damn play?
Yeah. I mean, that's
Coach, did you ever have somebody calling stuff you didn't want to call?
Eddie Grand did a hell of a job Saturday night.
Oh my God. Don't start with me. When you missed on the on our live chat,
besides the comfortable seats and the Natty Light
dry-
Seltzer
and our shout out to our friends at Your
your
Pie.
Oh, did you guys have your pie
Yes,
too?
we did have
Wow,
Your Pie. Our
great.
friends at Your Pie hooked us up with a stack of pizzas, the caprese salad, maybe a brownie. I'm like, maybe, I don't know if that made it inside the house.
Brownies, they didn't make it in my house. The brownies didn't make
They
it.
did not. No, we didn't actually have brownies. We should have had brownies. I saw them there, but just saying they have them. So we had a great salad, all the different pizzas. We didn't get any of the new pastas, but I know if you go to their website right now, you can actually you send them a picture of you ordering a pasta. They're having a giveaway for a $100 gift card. So
there you go.
The friends at Your Pie do a great job. They hooked us up on Saturday, so we're eating pizza, and we saw something talking about, well, Eddie Grand could have been the offensive coordinator at Georgia. He
sure could have.
And Coach made a great point. Said, look, Eddie Grand and Kirby Smart have the same agent. So it's really easy for that to get floated out there. That, oh, Kirby's talking to Eddie Grand. And Kirby might have called him up and said, hey, how you doing? And then all of a sudden it leaks to the media that Kirby offered him the job. And that's not what happened.
He and Coley used to coach together at Florida State. We talked to him about the tight end job, but, I mean, the guy got a raise out of it. And he's a good coach. There
was a tight end job open.
He's doing what he can with a hurt quarterback. But, I'm going to open up my veins here. Let's go. Let's just drill me now. Now that I'm defending.
All right. You're defending these guys, so I'm going to hit you with this question from Adco over on the board. He says, what does Coach Donnan feel like James Coley can improve on, needs to improve on?
I think getting the play in a little quicker sometime would be advantageous, particularly in clutch situations. But when you're not going, and it's happened to me too, when things aren't going great, sometimes you have a tendency to really think about why it won't work and all this. So maybe get them in a little quicker and maybe let go with tempo a little bit. But it's hard to go tempo when you're backed up. And our field position the last 2 weeks, when you look at South Carolina game, average starting position, wish McMahon was here today to figure out what our average starting position was the last 2 weeks.
Felt like the three.
I feel like Coley, watching him practice, he's organized, he's a good teacher, he knows the game. And this is a consummate deal here. Coach Pittman helps with tremendous input on the game plan. Coach McGee works hard on the short yardage, goal line, red zone. Coach Hartley is in the press box. Coach Hankton is talking to him all the time. All these guys it's not just a one-man show there. All these guys are totally involved with it. And I feel like that he is very capable, and Kirby obviously did. That's why he gave him the job.
Well, and what was funny to me actually was our guy Justin Rowland, who runs our Kentucky site, came over and took some of the comments on the board from last Saturday, put him on his Kentucky board, and all their fans said, oh, man, they just hate their offensive coordinator as much as we do. They said, that they're about as popular as your ex-wife. So,
yeah. Well, and that's why I usually I tend to defend offensive coordinators because, and I said, I made this one of my predictions in my 3-2-1. Like, be prepared about halfway through the season for everyone to hate James Coley. It is an impossible job. Mike Bobo was hated until he left, and everyone wanted him back. Jim Chaney was hated until he left, and people said, we want him back. James Coley will be hated, and then if he goes somewhere else, they'll want him back.
They like him in Seattle.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Shoddy.
Yeah, Schottenheimer. Jesus.
I'm serious.
Now there's hated and there's despised, Coach.
But, I mean, made one of the great moves in college football history, starting for Tom Bada against Florida.
That was genius. I'm not going to say who broke that story, but yeah. Anyway, he only had 3 interceptions against Florida.
Yeah, what a day that was.
And to be fair, that's one of the I don't call it nasty. That was one of the most unfair things I've ever seen done to a quarterback.
It didn't even let him do his stuff either. That's what surprised me.
That's what pissed me off. I'm like that. That's why I say when it was unfair.
So we won't do that against them this week. 2 weeks from now. But let's keep going.
Everyone loves offensive coordinator. I mean, hates offensive coordinator and loves the backup quarterback.
Sure.
It's two fundamental rules of football.
Absolutely.
You know, at Oklahoma, they used to get on me because we wouldn't throw the ball. And they used to do a poll every week. What will be the first play? Fullback up the middle, quarterback keep, or quarterback pitch? I mean, you knew it was going to be one of those three. We were playing Kansas one time, and we threw a pass on the first play of the game, and there was 8 cardiac arrests in the stands. We just did it for Switzer said, just do it for the heck of it. You know, but they,
That's the original
they,
troll.
They really do. I mean, you can't please her. And my wife had one of the great ones that's ever busted me one time. When I went down to eat breakfast one day, she had a napkin that was printed out, pass, damn it, pass.
But see, they would complain if you had a quarterback keeper that went for 9 yards. They'd be like, I knew he was going to run that. Yeah, but
they wanted us to throw the ball to Keith Jackson, so we just ran the tight end reverse to give him the ball. You know?
Totally off topic, but I am always interested in this because I love Switzer stories. How often did he just say, just do it for the heck of it?
Oh, he didn't care. I mean,
he seems like such a loose cannon. So, all right, I do want to switch gears here real quick.
Y'all heard Urban Meyer going to rumor that Urban Meyer's going to Florida State?
I have not heard that one.
I hadn't either. Somebody just sent that to me.
I heard that he came out and said he wanted the Cowboys job, though, which was pretty interesting.
I thought he had heart condition.
It seems to go away.
There's all kind of rumors there, but
apparently what fixes that is a new gig, a new job makes his
Willie
heart feel
Taggart
better.
needs to start winning some games down there. That's
no
for
question.
Sure.
There ain't no doubt about that. David Moss, who's here watching us right in front of us, actually.
David.
They're out here seeing us today. I'm going to switch it up a little bit because a lot of people are asking this question. He says, who do you think Eric Gilbert commits to on Wednesday? Eric Gilbert, if you're not keeping up, 5-star tight end, #1 in the nation, came out today on Twitter, announced that he would be announcing his commitment tomorrow night, Wednesday night, at the College Football Hall of Fame during the Army All-American, the Adidas All-American game jersey presentations. And so that's been the story of the day, I think, in the recruiting world.
So what do you think?
Well, we had a story with Eric on Sunday night after his visit and had a chance to talk with him. I think that it did sound to me positive for Georgia. I think that Georgia did manage to move the needle a little bit back in their way. But the Alabama talk to me has been so heavy that I would be very shocked. Now, listen, anything can happen. We've learned that through recruiting. So this is something we're going to monitor through the rest of this evening. I'm going to be monitoring it until the kid stands up there. And probably even once he announces his commitment, we'll still keep track of what Eric's doing.
Because he ain't signing.
That's right. So
I saw where Tennessee's not one of his 5, right?
Yeah, that's true, and that was a little bit surprising to me. But I do think Alabama has him kind of convinced about coming in, playing that Irv Smith, O.J. Howard role, which is compelling. I mean, he wants to.
I'd do it.
He said that he said prior to the season he wanted to see how these teams are going to use their tight ends, how they were going to use their offense. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Georgia got booed for their offense on Saturday. So if the fans aren't happy with it, how do you think a recruit feels?
Well, Alabama hadn't exactly lit it up throwing it that ball.
True.
They're
That's
tight
true.
end either.
But my prediction right now is Alabama. I am going with that. I'm sure people will listen to this on Thursday after he probably commits to Georgia, and then I'll look like an idiot.
Which day is it? Wednesday night?
Yeah, it'll be Wednesday night.
You going over there?
I will be there, yeah.
Trust me, it's better to have predicted that he's going somewhere else and then come to Georgia. Everyone gives you crap about that. Than predict him to come to Georgia, goes elsewhere.
Absolutely.
What time is he supposed
still hearing shit about
supposed to do it?
Derek Brown.
The ceremony's at 6 p.m. My guess is it'll be closer to 7:30.
Well, everybody tune in to UGA Live about 5:30, and we'll tell you where he's going.
There you go.
We'll have some inside scoop on that.
So Gilbert, yeah, like I said, I that's just my prediction right now. I'm a little bit surprised that he has decided to do it. That's the one thing that I think is working in Georgia's favor is that he's coming right off of the visit to Georgia and deciding to do it. He said that he wanted to. He said that this was probably going to be his last visit.
He told you that
prior to even prior to visiting. But he said after the visit, he said, "Yeah, I'm done." But said he didn't have a commitment date in mind. looks like now we're going to find out. So
I think after talking to you, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and commit. I don't want to talk to any more recruiting writers.
I am sick of this bastard.
When did Texas A&M? When did he visit out there?
Texas A&M, I think, was a little bit earlier back in the season, but he's definitely put in the visit there. Clemson, I think, is in the running for this. They've tried to push for a visit. I don't think they've gotten one, but they're in the top 5.
The last time they threw to a tight end, Benny Cunningham was playing.
BSW.
You remember Benny?
Benny Cunningham
Played for the Pittsburgh Steelers and a great tight end for them back in the 70s.
No, a little bit before my time.
Yeah.
Even you don't remember him?
Oh, no.
Remember Tree Rollins?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, that is a name I'm familiar with, yes.
Tree Rollins, big, tall center for – well, anyhow, here's a story. Benny Cunningham used to work for Clemson over there in the off-season on the local cable station, and he was a big guy. You know, Tree Rollins was even bigger, played big – and Frank Howard every day would come by him and say, "How you doing, boy? How you doing?" And so one day, Benny Cunningham said, you know, Frank was retired. One day, he said, "How you doing, boy? How you doing, boy?" And he said, "Coach, you say hello to me every day." He said, "Do you really know who I am?" He said, "Yeah, you're Tree Rollins." All right, let's keep going.
All right. We did have another recruiting question I wanted to touch on. BSW 44144 on the board over at UGASports.com, over on the Vault, our recruiting-only chat room. He says, any update on running back recruiting? Do you think they take another quarterback, and if so, will it be grad transfer or a lower-ranked recruit? As far as the running back recruiting, look, everything is still completely up in the air with Zach Evans. I've yet to hear anybody that seems like they have any solid information on that. The kid seems to change his mind on a daily basis. You don't know where he's going to be from week to week. He was supposed to commit, a month and a half ago. That fell through. Then he says, "I've decided." That was the last we've heard of that.
Yeah.
That kid is.
I think he decided where he wanted to eat dinner.
I think he's holding up a lot of recruiting situations across the nation because A&M's in on him. Texas still feels like they've got a shot. LSU certainly feels like they're in on this right now. Bama has his teammate Damian George committed, and he was up there last week. So it's a situation where you've got a lot of moving pieces for Zach Evans. I still think that he's probably, number one on the board as the number one recruit and as the number one running back in America. But I've talked about this before. Don't sweat that position too hard. You've got a lot of great options behind him. I think a kid like Ashad Clayton, they're keeping after Cartavius Bigsby. Jahmyr Gibbs just picked up his offer from Alabama last week. Be interesting to see if that moves the needle for anybody, Georgia-wise.
Well, you did say that kid. Well, you didn't say he's not going to Tech, but you said you'd be stunned if he did.
He ain't going to Tech. I'm saying it now.
What's his name?
Dejan Edwards. Yeah, definitely.
That's
he's
where
a kid.
Coach McGee was there last week.
Yeah,
right?
Del McGee's had a chance to get down there and see him. That stayed going behind the scenes.
Yeah,
so I'm
keep
interested
an eye on
to
that one.
see on Friday and hit on the site here, and you and Trent say where all these coaches are going to be, because that's going to really tell you how they feel about these guys.
Oh, absolutely.
Where our guys
their one-off
be,
week. Yeah.
Where are they going to be going? What they're going to be doing? Where's Coley going to be?
I got to guess. I got a feeling, a real strong feeling that we might see Todd Hartley out west.
But that's a given. I'm just talking about the quarterback situation, the running back.
Sure.
Where those guys are going to be?
I agree. Seeing where those guys end up is going to be very telling.
I think someone needs to go have a coach set eyes on Gibbs.
Yeah.
Go see Edwards. Go see Clayton. I know you only have so many coaches, but
Listen to the voice of reason.
Just saying. This is your week to evaluate them, because you're going to be slammed the rest of the season. If Evans goes somewhere else, you got to go to number 2.
Sure.
I think Gibbs is a great choice. I think Edwards is a great choice. I'm big on Clayton. A lot of other people aren't.
I like Chaney.
Don Chaney's another guy.
Especially with Miami's situation.
Yeah.
I mean,
Miami is lighting it up.
They just lost a big player today said he was going to the portal, I believe, Brian Hightower.
How about that Shepard kid going to the portal yesterday that you told me from Texas?
Giovanni Shepard. That was a very interesting
we recruited
one.
the heck out of him, didn't we?
Absolutely, and he's a massive, massive kid. Would not surprise me to see Georgia check back in on him, just kick the tires and see what he's interested in. Yeah, Brian Hightower, like I said, a guy who just kind of put himself in the portal today from Miami. So 6'3", 196.
I do want to give Jeff Collins a shout out for that win over Miami. The only reason is a good win. And
you're trying to win friends and
influence
people.
Don't tell us where he's from.
He's from Rockdale County High School. Went to my high school. He finally gets a notable win, and I want to give him thanks for it. Now, I do expect him to get his butt kicked when Georgia plays him, and not. I can't root against him winning when it's not playing Georgia. So, congrats to him for that one. He's in a rough situation down there. I know he gets no sympathy from the Georgia fans, but
I've never seen a coach change the chameleon on the sideline during the course of that call at the end of the game. He's telling the officials this because, and then they say that then they go back and measure the mark. Yes, sir, that was great. That was great.
Now, if you were upset with the ref and then all of a sudden he flipped and agrees with you, you'd have done the same thing.
Well, he didn't really flip. All he did was he just the challenge was not good. But then he said we are going to measure the spot. So they went ahead and measured it, and the measurement showed that he didn't make it.
Chuck Pearson says it's been a while without a commit. Speaking of recruiting, and listen, I've belabored this point. I'll do it again. The guys you're in on are going to take all of their visits. Eric Gilbert, this was his 4th visit. Keely Ringo has not even started his. He's taken one. He took one to Oregon.
We only got 40 days to the signing day, right?
Yeah, I mean it's coming up quick. But a guy like Broderick Jones, even, we wrote about him on Monday. He kind of updated his status, said there are several teams still pushing for him, but says, hey, I may not sign in the early period. I might wait and take my officials in January and then go from there. So there's a lot on the table.
That ain't happening.
Good point.
I think that's what I said. A little closer to time, I think they'll tighten those screws a little bit. But
a lot of that has to do whether a kid can get in January too.
Absolutely.
If you can't, then you can't blame him for wanting to go make a few visits.
Absolutely.
I mean, hey, wine and dine the kids, but the ones that can get in and early enroll, they'll be ready to go, and that's something that you got to put as far as your numbers too. You got to have a scholarship available so they can come. Like look at Plumlee. I mean, just think if we'd have had a scholarship where we didn't tell him the gray shirt.
Yeah, no
we'd be jumping. Hey, did you see him play the other night? This
Yes,
guy's a phenom.
We told people that everyone's like, "Wow, you can drop him." I'm like, "No, he's really good. He's really good."
Great evaluation by our coaches. Yep. I mean, really was. I mean, it just ended up we had to take and didn't have enough scholarships, and he had an opportunity, and it goes to show you why we didn't recruit Matt Corral too.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's hop back in on some of these questions for you, Coach. Obi-Wan over on the board, he says, how do you expect this team to respond after the bye week? This may be the most adversity the team and the staff have faced since 2017 started.
Yeah, I think that's something that you talk to your team about, and the psyche of your team is, look, everything that we've built up isn't going to be knocked down because of the South Carolina game or because of the weather. You know what you're capable of. Like I read some of the comments that guys like Monty Rice and Richard LeCount said, hey, we go against this offense every day. We know what they're capable of. We're bonded together. We're going to stay behind them. And that's what you got to have. The worst thing you can have on any situation is doubt. And if you start doubting yourself, doubting the coaches, doubting the players, then you're going to have a tough situation. But I feel like our guys will really respond. They'll have 2 really good hard practices here tomorrow and Wednesday, and then another one on Thursday. Then it's great to be able to go visit your family and take a little time off. And these guys have been kicking around since middle of July here. Even though we did have an open date earlier, I don't think many of them left then. But this will be a good time to really, kind of decompress and then come back. And, hey, nothing can be better than to go against your arch rival when you got to get out there and show your stuff again. I feel good about our chances against Florida.
Well, I got the question, too. Do you expect Georgia players to come back and play with a little bit of chip off on their shoulder after hearing the boos from the home crowd?
Yeah, they could. They could a little bit. I don't think it really bothers them as much as you think. Although everybody talks about we got a great home crowd and all that, which helped us against Notre Dame. But, they understand that you got to earn that right, too, by playing good. But the players were just doing what, playing within the framework of the game the other day. But I think he makes a good point. There is a proofs in the pudding type situation with us, and everything's riding on that because, whoever wins that game is going to win the East because I can't see anybody in Florida play. I was counting on Missouri to be tough at home against Florida, but Missouri, lose to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, that was tough. That was very tough.
Yeah, we just said last week that Vanderbilt would beat them and Wisconsin would lose to Illinois. People wouldn't even watch the show anymore. So what are these guys? They don't know anything.
Should go read those two boards and see what they say about their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, there you go.
It's
they're not going to
if
say
you think
anything
you
about
got it bad.
Not going to say anything about
Derek
Dooley.
All right, UGA Hairy Dogs, one of our great mods over on the board. I wanted to get this one in for him, and because it's a very interesting question, I thought. He says, TV announcers mentioned during the Kentucky game, the coaching staff had been trying to get Fromm to stop flipping the ball post-snap when he's going through progressions, especially so last week when they knew that the weather was going to be an issue. But so far, they can't get that. They haven't been able to. How common is it to have players how common is it to have trouble getting players to lose those little ticks?
Well, he's been throwing the ball since he's 1 year old. That's just a habit he has, and it's something that they act like they're the first people to see it. Rod Gilmore and them, everybody knows that that's what he does, and you can talk to him about it, but it's never come back to bite him. He's always got good control of the ball, but it's a little bit more difficult if you're doing it with a wet ball, but. It doesn't impede his passing at all, and that's just the way he does it. So I think it's a moot point, but they want to make sure that they saw something that maybe people here didn't know about. But come on.
I think you mentioned how long he's been throwing the ball. What's become so apparent to me in the years that I've been covering recruiting, and especially quarterbacks, they're weird. They have a weird relationship with the ball. They carry it everywhere they go. They're always spinning it.
You got balls you like, the better.
That's right. Yeah.
I promise you, when I was in college, my coach was going to switch balls from Wilson to Spalding or one or the other, and I'd been playing with that one. And he said, "You can't tell the difference in them." I said, "I can tell the difference, Coach." And so he took me in his office and put a blindfold on me and put them down, and I had to put my hand on them and tell them which one was which, and I guarantee you I got every one of them right. He did it 5 different times. You can feel the ball. You know what it is, and we got some balls that are worn more slick. Players like a slicker ball, some like a newer ball, and it's an idiosyncrasy that, we saw what happened with – we don't know the exact story with Brady and the deflate gate, but, that – some guys like the ball with less pressure in them, that's for sure.
All right. This is a very good one, too, because a lot of people were wondering about this last week. The health of Tyson Campbell. Tyson Campbell went through practice last week. People expected to see him back on the field last week. Did not.
I was told he was playing.
All right.
Well, here's the answer to that. The guy can't plant on a dry field because of turf toe. Why are you going to take a chance on losing the rest of the year on a wet field when they're not going to be throwing the ball anyhow? So we held him out. That was why he didn't play.
Yeah.
Is that a good answer?
Yeah.
He's got
Get
turf
out of
toe.
here with your reason and logic and stuff like that. We want to get back to conspiracy.
He was supposed to play. He was ready to go. If it had been a dry turf and threatening to throw the ball and all that, he would have played. But this gives him 2 more weeks. Boy, he's going to be like a young, fresh pup going against those Gators.
JBF 94 on the board, though, wants to know, does Tyson Campbell slot immediately back into the starting cornerback role opposite Stokes for the Florida game if he's healthy, or do they continue with DJ Daniel, who's obviously picked up a lot of the slack in his absence?
I think a lot of it depends on how he does in practice. Daniels has done well, but, this guy's a premier corner. He's got a year under his belt. We're going against some of the best receivers we'll see all year. We're going to play a lot of nickel and dime against them. We could see maybe Daniels playing some inside. Somebody's going to have to cover 84 for them. I don't know who it's going to be.
How about a sniper?
But 84,
He's a bad man.
84 is a mismatch for anybody. And that's going to be a key in this game. I mean, I like their quarterback. I think Trask is a really good example of a big, strong, physical kid that can drive the ball down the field. And he has really helped their offense because he's not quite as off and on as Franks, although Franks could run a little better. And then they put Emory Jones in there as kind of a changeup. But this will be an interesting matchup. Our defense is not getting enough credit for what they've done, but our defense is going to be challenged against a team that can run and pass. We haven't seen teams, when Notre Dame played us, they didn't really have a running game, although they've gotten one back. So we're going to have to defend both very heavily Saturday.
And I tried to tell people going into this year, Florida's passing game, since they've been able to find a quarterback in Trask, a kid who has, all the hallmarks actually of a great Dan Mullen guy. He's like a what was the kid they had? Nick Starkel. Or Dak Prescott. He's taking these guys and developing them. He's a great developer of quarterback talent. But listen, he's got a lot of options too. Trayvon Grimes, former 5-star. Josh Hammond, 4-star, great player. Van Jefferson, former Georgia commit, ended up at Ole Miss. Now he's over there. Jacob Copeland was a guy Georgia recruited, and he was great. Freddie Swain was another guy Georgia recruited. So that's 5 guys in that receiving core that Georgia was after pretty well. 6. Give me Tyree Cleveland, too.
Oh, yeah. But not a lot of linemen, though, right?
No, that's true. That's definitely true. Kyle Pitts was another kid they went after, 84. As you mentioned, he was a teammate.
Where's he from, Baltimore?
He is from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Played his high school football alongside Mark Webb.
I knew it was somewhere
Archbishop
up north.
Wood. So
that's a way to answer me, man.
No, I think that it was listen. That's going to be. That's a formidable pass offense that you got to face when you go against Florida.
Who were the two? I saw this on Jeopardy a couple of days ago. Who were the two geography guys that put the separation between Maryland and Pennsylvania?
Mason and Dixon.
You got it, Ro. Guy answered Lewis and Clark. I mean, the guy
That's the only two I know.
They were West
Lewis and
Coast.
Clark. Yeah, I got this one.
I can see it in your eyes. You're just waiting.
I got it.
All right.
I hate to see old Alex Trebek going down, don't you?
I do. It's really sad. Really sad.
I mean, he's
you want to
trying
talk about
hard.
you want to talk about a life well lived and a guy who's put together an incredible career and just a stalwart of American culture. I love Alex
He's
Trebek,
good.
man.
He's good.
You've never heard a bad word about the guy. Savage Pads over on the board, a little bit for all of us here. He says, thoughts on Fromm? You think he comes back next year?
Yes.
As of right now, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't.
Well, let's just let the season play out. I mean, he's had
What you said right now.
Yeah.
first 5 games, he had an unbelievable start. So then, he had a bad game, and then last week doesn't really count. So, but the thing that's hurting him right now is the proliferation of Joe Burrow and the way Herbert's playing on the West Coast and this Love kid for Utah State. And, of course, Tua, who knows what's going to happen with him with his injury. And a couple people asked me, what did they do surgery-wise to them? And I checked on my doctor-type deal. But, there's a tibia and a fibia. And when you have a high ankle sprain, it really affects you. So they take a wire and put between the two and twist it to try to locate that situation and stabilize it.
That sounds very
I did
comfortable.
not know. Yeah. Sounds like fun.
Straight from Drew Wilson, our trainer. Drew told me what was going to happen. But he said for them to think that this guy could play against LSU is one thing, but to have the mobility he needs, it's going to be very difficult. 3 weeks is just really cutting it close.
I agree.
Last year he had 6 weeks before he played in the championship.
No question.
That's a good point.
I
thought you were asking me something.
No, I was putting the Fromm question
Mason,
to you.
what do you think about
my Fromm question? My Fromm thing is the way the question was stated was, as of right now. So I'm like, okay, well.
Well, he did not say it that way.
I'm sorry.
I phrased it that way. He says, thoughts on Fromm, is he coming back next year?
Win a title and all of a sudden be projected in the top first 3 rounds, he's gone. don't win a title, this is a kid who wants one really badly, then he comes back, and it's because he's going to win. When I've compared him to Aaron Murray over the years, there's a reason for that, because he's very Aaron Murray-like. He wants to win a title. He wants to win for Georgia. And he knows the NFL will still be there the following year, and it might get a little more attention. And he's always going to develop. This kid is always working. Maybe he learns to stop spinning the ball. Stupidest question. No, it's not a stupid question. Stupid analysis by some of these TV people. He's trying to get the water off the ball by spinning it. No, it's
just a tick.
It's a tick, and he's fine with it. But I see the kid wants to win a title unless he sees this is his only window.
He got to be selfish, though. I mean, you got to look at it for what's best for him too, and that's
why I said if he's mentioned to go in the first two
he'll get
rounds,
a grade.
He gets a grade, and he sees that he's like, okay, well, I can, but at the same time,
and it's interesting the way the so-called experts have flip-flopped about him based on this year. The ones that really count, the guys like Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper and Todd McShay continue to have him ranked high, whereas some of these websites that just don't have the pro guys, but they got guys that are writers, have kind of slipped him out of there because they just have, based on the way he's played. But you got to look at his overall potential, everything that he does, his knowledge of the game, and see where he projects. But you also got to look at who else is out there like the other teams are going to do. I mean, they're going to look at Herbert and this Love kid, and, of course, Burrow is on fire right now.
Yeah,
Burrow's got a lot of the same attributes that Jake does as far as being a coach's son type smart guy that I don't know that Jake's dad was a coach, but, the point is he's a very smart kid, and but he's very athletic too. I mean, you saw the way he ran against us last year. I mean, he's good enough to avoid the rush, and he's got the arm to help him.
Well, if you're smart, you'll call our friends over at Aaron Overhead Doors. They take fantastic care of all of their customers who reach out to them. A smart way of getting set up with them. If you have an issue, you can actually book online. Go to them and say, hey, this is when I want you to come out. Here's the best time for me. Basically, it's like getting the secretary's appointment book. You have access to it. You fill in the spot you want to go. And when they come out, it'll actually be employees from Aaron Overhead Doors. It won't be some contractor, who was working for Home Depot last week and Lowe's week before and, 3 or 4 other places, Joe's Garage, 6 days ago. It'll be an Aaron Overhead Door employee. And I guarantee you, Ryan Lucia, the folks over there will give you the best customer service you've ever seen in your life. It'll be like calling Chick-fil-A and having them come out and fix your garage door. Service above and beyond. That's the type of stuff they're doing.
Hell, they may even bring you a chicken sandwich if you ask for
if
it.
You put it in there. Ryan probably would. Hey, you brought me some cocktail sauce all the way from Indianapolis just when I made a joke about it. So this is a guy he's big into customer service. He's the guy created a podcast to talk about overhead doors to help other people in the business. Competitors.
Wow.
Provide better service. I'm just saying this is a guy who knows his stuff. So big shout out to them. And, of course, you got some time before the next Georgia game. You want to get a great meal, want to get a great beer, swing by our friends over at Academia Brewing Company. They make some of the best beer you'll ever have in your life. Fall's here. They're doing, as the seasonal beers change, my beers are coming in, some of the little heavier stuff. Swing out by Academia Brewing Company. And, again, if you're not a huge beer person, you're like, why would I go out to a brewery? Do you like to eat? Do you like good food? They have a chef out there. How many restaurants in this town can say they have a chef?
Absolutely.
They have cooks. They have line people. But not everybody has a chef. These guys do, and they come up with some amazing foods. There's always something going on, be it a wing night or a faux night or they do the one with the other noodles. I can't think of them. The Japanese noodles are really inexpensive. Ramen. They have a ramen night. But, again, you look at the bowl and it's like, everything in it's fresh. I mean, those guys do amazing stuff out there. So you get a chance, swing by our friends at Academia Brewing Company. You won't be disappointed. If you have a bad meal out there, tell me about it. I'll go talk to them.
Are we going to have a watch-along party for the for the LSU Auburn game this week?
Oh, we should do that. That'd be a blast.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you guys. It's bye week. What are you doing this weekend, Coach? How are you going to spend the bye week?
Watch a lot of ball, probably. That's for sure. I'm watching OU play for the 5th straight week 12 o'clock. Did
Man,
you know that?
they are doing
They're
them
playing
dirty, man.
11 o'clock. I mean, Fox is just wearing them out. Everybody gripes about Alabama, those people over there. But you realize OU's playing for the 5th straight week at 11 o'clock.
You know, last week they didn't even have – there was not an 11 o'clock game for the Big 12. They didn't play one because Oklahoma was off.
Oklahoma played last week,
Oh,
man.
I thought they were off.
Well, they acted like they were off, but they killed whoever they played. Who was it?
Oh, I don't even recall.
Oh, they played at 11 o'clock. It's playing at the same time Wisconsin was playing. Who did OU play last week?
Let's see. Roddy, what are you doing with your bye week?
Me, family stuff. I actually have to say hello to the family.
That's always what you make up and say.
I'm just saying.
West Virginia, they beat the hell out of West Virginia.
I'm not going to tell you which family.
And that was kind of interesting. West Virginia's quarterback was at OU last year, Austin Kendall.
That's true. Yeah, I really liked Austin Kendall out of high school. He was a good player. Not gonna go do a little family stuff, eh?
Yeah.
Here's the one thing I want to say. Last thing I say about booing. The other people, seriously, other coaches read articles that would say something about that and send it to the recruits. You know what I mean?
There's no such thing as negative recruiting,
we do it,
coach.
but I mean, they would say, "Hey, what do you think about Georgia?" They got and read an article saying, "Hey, they booed them and all that." So let's just be careful about it. Let's just be careful.
I do want to ask you this: is the complaints that I saw, people were saying, "Look, I was booing the coaches and not the players." How the hell do you make that distinction?
Yeah, I mean, if you're on the field, it all sounds as it's.
Yeah.
Maybe they should work on tones.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, here's the thing: if you really feel that strongly about it, write a letter. Coley's on Twitter. Tweet at him. You know, if you feel that you're smarter than the coaches and know more about them and are mad about them running up the middle after you've recruited one of the best offensive lines in college football. You've recruited some of the best running backs in college football. You've designed your team to do this. And especially when, folks say, well, running it up the middle is a bad idea. Yeah, because that never works. You don't have to boo. Hit them up. There are ways to get your message across because, the coaches never thought about going outside, apparently.
I don't know that they'll answer that. My secretary used to say, I'd say, we get any letters about the game? Said, oh, just a few, Coach. But she would never let me look at
Well,
it.
I'm just saying, they have about as much chance of Coley answering the boos.
Sure, absolutely.
Hey, I don't know.
It's just pointless. My thing is,
if you like and love Georgia football and you love Kirby Smart, don't boo. Kirby Smart's the head coach.
Even if you hate Kirby Smart, don't boo your team. It's just, you're not. It's just like screwing with the referees. People boo the referees and they think that they're going to get a better call.
You can still boo them, though. You can boo those.
And don't get me wrong, I'm the one who I rip on the referees more than probably anybody in America. But I'll tell you this: when I talk to them, the first thing they say is like, when everyone's yelling at us and everyone's screaming and booing, we don't give them a make-up call. If anything, we're predisposed to call against you now.
But I do feel like
you win more friends with honey than vinegar, friends.
I do feel like on this show, last week we talked about a lot of the things that Georgia did wrong and critiqued it exactly like we needed to. Whatever it might be, the fumble snap, showing how Hill went one way, talking about Kirby on the timeout, all that stuff. We talked about that, and in some ways we're a little critical. But are you cutting the show off, man? But this week, I don't think this team deserves the criticism based on the way the game was played. I really don't. That's just the way I feel about it.
I have to agree with you, Coach, and we will be able to talk a lot more about this next Tuesday at noon. It'll be the game. It'll be Florida week. Wednesday, I'll take off, but we will have for the Florida show, we will have a watch-along party. I won't be there. I'll be down in Jacksonville checking stuff out down there.
Key lime pie.
Yeah, buddy. I actually got to speak to the Valdosta Bulldog Club on Wednesday and the Jacksonville Bulldog Club on Thursday. It'll be me and Coach Dooley talking to the folks there.
Get some good questions, man.
Yeah. So if you want to join the Jacksonville Bulldog Club, check us out on Thursday before the Georgia-Florida game. But you really want
top 10 matchup, man.
Yeah, you really want to see the Georgia-Florida game. Watch it with Coach Donnan Dane Young, and Brent Rollins of Pro Football Focus. Another guy who knows football 10 times better than I do. It'll be a much better and much more enjoyable show when the Georgia-Florida game goes down and you're watching it with Coach Donnan than when you're watching it with the announcers.
CBS this week.
Nothing against those CBS guys, but Donnan's much better. Having sat through 2 games with him, I can tell you the man knows his stuff. So tune in to the Watch Along show on YouTube, and tune in next week for this show.
I can still watch the last week's watch along too if you want to.
That'll prove it. All right, we'll talk to you folks next week. Take care.